Welcome to This Week in Android. I'm your host, Ashley Esqueda. I'm here with my fabulous co-host, Mark Jeffrey.
I'm so fabulous this week?
Still fabulous.
I don't know if I want to be called
Still
fabulous.
awesome. Less.
But that's okay.
Less. Well, no, I would say not. It's not a Wii shirt. You don't have the Beatles, the Me Beatles.
Oh, that's right.
Week.
No, it's actually this is Command N. This is another show, like another tech show that like ours.
Sweet. All right.
A rather large one that's run for a very long time.
Oh,
so,
very cool. Very cool. And to my left, I have. Oh my gosh, John Shiple. Did I pronounce your last name right?
You got it.
I think I will call you Squishy.
That works.
His nickname is Squishy, just so you know, it's not like a
memorable,
random thing.
Yeah.
It'd be funnier if it was random, but no, I'll call you Squishy or John. And with us, joining us on Skype today, as was last week, we have Dave Buchanan and Lane Montgomery from the Android App Show. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi guys, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh gosh, I can barely hear them.
Can we? Yeah, we can barely hear them in here. By the way, you guys, I don't want to turn them up. Also, can we see them? We're not really seeing them. Anyway, technical difficulties, folks. Sorry about that.
Yes.
So we're sorry we're getting late. We're sorry we're late getting started again. So I think we're going to move the show to 4. I think we're just going to
That seems like a good idea.
We'll just call it 4 o'clock. So from now on, This Week in Android will go up at 4 o'clock. So
That sounds like a good
at least
plan.
that way we've been like 10 minutes late or something like
Now that Peter Jackson is directing
right.
Twist, I think we're gonna have to just
Push it out a little bit.
we'll just push it out. This is fine. It's all
Okay.
good.
So what happened this week?
Well, Mobile World Conference, Barcelona, huge.
Right. Everybody's
That's
in Barcelona this week.
except for us.
Yeah, we didn't get to go. Jason wouldn't let us go.
Yeah.
Virtually there, though.
I know. I mean, we're there in spirit.
Yeah.
We're there in spirit, and on the internet. We're there on the internet. So lots of stuff. The one thing I was talking to you about earlier is Google saying they're shipping 60,000 handsets a day.
That's
mean,
amazing. Well, it's actually to
huge.
clarify, it's not Google themselves. It's
all Android apps
handsets. So,
across all
there are 60,000
carriers.
Android-based handsets from all carriers. Sorry, all handset manufacturers that are shipping now per month, which is pretty amazing.
Insane. I mean, I'm impressed. But I do think that I mean, in the sense of Apple, if the iPhone is not for you, there's no other phone.
Right.
If for example the Hero is not for you, there's still the Droid, there's still now the Devour, and I mean.
Yeah, you want the Devour, don't you? That was a big.
Yeah, mine is the Legend.
Is that the one you want?
God, that unibody design.
Are those all HTC? Those are all HTC designs.
Yeah,
right? HTC, the same people who made the Nexus 1, I think, too.
Yes, and and people are. People are excited about it. I mean, well, the HTC Legend, it's got that nice unibody design, the aluminum, and it's got now, instead of the actual, I forget, the ball or the
trackball thing?
It's now got just that optical controller, which is sweet. And now they're putting in Sense in there, and I mean, it's a big deal, and lots of stuff happening over at Mobile World. And now we're talking about Adobe Air.
Yeah, the Adobe thing, I'm excited about that. There's a bunch of stuff in the news.
Yeah, a lot of
news. The news
this
segment's going to
week.
be long this week because there's just a lot of stuff to go over. But
Yeah.
so let's go to a remote host real quick. Can we see them real quick, Dave and Lane?
Let's see our lovely.
You have us yet now?
Hey, there you are.
All right.
How are you guys doing this week?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. And there's a lot of exciting stuff coming out of Barcelona, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
What caught your eye?
Well, Google had quite a few announcements. One of the things that came up at the last moment on the software side was the translate feature in Google Goggles. I don't know if you've seen this.
I've seen Google Goggles. I've not seen the translate feature. Tell us about that.
Well, they demonstrated it translating German to English. So you could just pick up Google Goggles, take the picture like you normally would, and it just changes the text right over to English for you.
That's crazy. So a picture of anything like a sign or
Walking around in Prague, you got to have something translated. You just snap.
Yeah,
picture.
for right now, it only supports English coming from German. It doesn't go both ways right now.
Right.
But I think they have to eventually be supporting the rest of the stuff.
Oh yeah.
Did they say anything about tying it into Google Maps or anything like that, like augmented reality, like if you're a tourist or traveler?
That would be very interesting.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, one of my predictions for it is going to be that they include like a sort of overlay on the camera, so that eventually all you'll have to do is point it at something, and then it'll just overlay the translation right over it in your view.
Oh, wow.
It'd be very interesting to see how or if Layar uses that technology. I got the tour of Layar today, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anything else that you guys are really thrilled about in terms of Barcelona this week?
Well, the Dalvik Turbo virtual machine and the virtual machine upgrade that Google has announced that they're working on themselves to process code just in time to get quite a big performance boost. The people, and the name escapes me, that coded the Dalvik machine are saying that they're getting a 2 to 3 times performance boost, and that's just from upgrading the code. That isn't a new phone. You get a G1, it's going to all of a sudden run 2 to 3 times faster.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like that.
Well, we've heard of people who've done some mods to Android getting those kind of speed increases by doing just-in-time compiling as well. So
Yes,
I
some of
assume
the
it's
custom
same
ROMs
thing.
have it.
What's that?
Some of the custom ROMs have it.
Yes.
But they're talking about making it mainstream.
Yeah. I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, it seems to me,
Seems like a no-brainer,
Who would not
yeah.
want more speed?
Yeah. No, I don't think I like my phone slower. I think I'll just keep it that way. That doesn't make any sense. But, what do you guys think of the 2 new phones, the glorious, sexy new HTC devices that we saw this week?
Oh, man.
Right?
Wow,
I know.
You guys like them.
Did you see my tweets a couple days ago? I was having a heart attack.
Man, that thing is, my bank account's crying right now.
Yeah.
Because like you were talking about the trackball being replaced with that optical mouse with that solid button that kind of clicks down. I mean, that just looks like
great.
it's much more appealing.
Yeah, and sturdier. And then also, I love that they reintroduced that sort of lip on the end.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that in a while.
The chin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that little slope on the chin.
Brings the mic out a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And also, it protects the screen, too. If you put it face down, you don't have it rubbing against something.
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Very cool.
Yeah, awesome. But yeah, no, my bank account's crying too, and I'm terrified that I'm gonna have to switch my my provider, which is currently not a 3G provider, so I may have to switch, and that's also going to be extremely expensive.
They're starting to run into a problem now where they're actually coming out with stuff too fast.
Too fast, and people are getting mad.
People are getting irritated.
People are
'cause
getting
it's-
really mad.
They buy one thing and then there's 3 seconds later there's something much better.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just coming so fast and furious that people are now going, maybe I'll wait. For the next
Maybe
one.
I'll wait, and then the next phone comes out, and they're like, well, maybe I'll wait for the next one, and then you kind of get into this thing where you're waiting for the next best thing, but then you're missing out on all the good stuff that's coming along the way.
But I do like this performance boost just, by getting the new OS. Is that how it's going to work with the next release, right?
Yeah.
That's actually really cool, kind of like a new phone.
Yeah, well, I know
it
it's
performs better.
I think the Legend's running on, what is it, it's running on Eclair, and it's a Snapdragon 2.1 processor, so it's going to be really nice. I'm a little bit obsessed with it right now.
You are.
I'm a little bit obsessed with the Legend
I
right
can
now.
tell.
I have a little, it's my desktop at home. It's my wallpaper.
Well, this company, I looked it up. Myriad is the name of the guys that have made the Dalvik engine for the platform right now, and basically they're saying they're going to team with carriers so that their feature phones have this new faster engine built into it, and Google's version is going to kind of be for everybody. But right now, Myriad has it working, and they're going to try and partner with people to offer a better Android. To differentiate. We talk about fragmentation of the platform. They're trying to push it in, I guess, a positive way, because they say they're 100% compatible with the existing Dalvik engine because they made it.
Oh.
So we might not. I might not see it on my G1, but who knows for what's coming down the pipe? We'll probably see it.
Interesting.
Well, especially if you're into games.
Yeah, that's going to be the really big.
Okay. We should probably do our next segment now because I know we have
gotta
Kevin Marks
Skype him
coming
in.
up. Yeah. So for right now, we're going to do App of the Week. So
Okay.
we'll do that segment first. We're going to say goodbye to you guys.
Yes.
All right.
We'll bring you back
Joel.
for the news.
We'll bring you back
We'll
for
be
the
back.
news. It's time for App of the Week.
That's
Let's
right.
talk about Quick.
Okay, so in the chat room, I basically asked everyone to go. Yeah, the app of the week is Quick. In case you didn't guess that already, I did put up where my Quick URL is. Actually, I said Ustream, but I meant Quick. It's basically QUIK.com/Mark Jeffrey. So just my name, MarkJeffrey. And what I've got here, basically, and I'll put this towards this camera. I've basically got the Quick application running on my Android phone. And I'm going to turn it on, and it's very simple, but it's very powerful. be able to broadcast video, live video,
Oh yeah.
directly to a web page from my mobile handset, which is pretty amazing.
A quick correction, it's QIK, not no
QIK,
U,
sorry,
no U. So
apologies.
QIK.com/Mark Jeffrey.
Yeah, so now here, so if you're watching the video, it should be broadcasting live right now. So I'm basically sending this video out. There's John. Now here's a view of the studio that a lot of people never see. This is what we see.
That's why we're always looking up there.
That's right. So basically, if you're looking up there, I'm showing you what, there's where our monitor is. There's where all the cameras are. I know it sort of ruins the magic of the place to see what's
I
going
know,
on
it's like
behind the
everyone's
scenes.
like, oh, that's.
But now you see like basically what it looks like behind the stage, and this is what we see from we get basically have our computers when we're looking at the chat there, and we have our notes right there. So that's what the world looks like from our point of view. And did you guys all see it? People in the chat room? Do you guys?
Fair viewers.
I guess not. I guess we're not getting.
I see your videos
Did you
that's
see it go
recorded.
up
I
there?
saw that. I saw it say Mark Jeffries live streaming, and I saw some of it, but then I
Should have
think
gone up there. Probably it should be. Oh, actually, it doesn't seem to be up there right now. Let me try it one more time.
Does it do the audio as well, or just?
Yes, it should do all the audio and everything. Okay, so I believe I'm broadcasting now again. So if you go there, okay, no, I'm actually looking at the site right now, and I think it's, yeah, there we go. It seems to be there. I actually should probably tilt it like that. Okay, so I'm now broadcasting, so if you go to the site again, I'm showing you exactly what I just showed you
There
a
we
few
go.
minutes ago. You see it? Okay, so I think it didn't work the first time.
So it's got
That's
that
actually
right there.
So
quite
there's
good.
what
Isn't that
actually is.
amazing?
Yeah.
Versus like iPhone video.
I don't think
live
you can
stream,
do this.
Ustream, you
yeah,
can.
and then there's some big lights up there, so
But
if
it's
you're
a
watching
lot
the video.
slower.
It's
I
a
gotta
lot
say.
slower and a little bit choppier, right?
And sometimes the audio doesn't even go through. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There we go. They're showing it. Very good. They
Which
actually
is
picked up on it.
fantastic. Yeah.
They're showing it. So there's a little tour of what the
Very
studio
cool.
looks like.
Cursing.
So there's the Tyler chair. So if you watch the other one,
Oh, it's like that.
and there's where the old Tyler chair used to be. So this is a really. I mean, this app is just really powerful.
Yeah,
And
and I
it's the
mean, for
fact-
people, newswise, newsworthy-wise, I mean, you've got people, like, for example, the Haiti earthquake, you could have people live streaming from the ground immediately
Yeah.
following some major news event. So this is something that I think a lot of people should be, I think over time, a lot of people are going to start taking advantage of this in terms of even, and for something as simple as social networking, people are going to take advantage of saying, this is what I'm doing right now. Like, look at what I'm doing or where I am or whatever. And again, I think it's more of, like, as we go on over time with, especially with Android, like the capability of Android, it's pushing the limits of the things that we can share immediately, instantly, all instant gratification, which is great.
Yeah. I seriously, I have not seen it on the iPhone, but I don't believe it's possible to do it.
It is. Yeah, but it wasn't nearly as good.
It's not as
The quality's
sorry,
not
I meant
there.
quality-wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it, but it's very choppy.
Yeah.
It looks very much like like the Soyuz.
Yeah, especially if you're doing
video
a
we had last
3G,
week.
which doesn't have the built-in
Right.
video. You can still do it. It just is. It's ugly. It's
The Edge
why
network
bother?
has-
You know, why write the app in the first place?
Right.
I don't know why you would. I can't imagine AT&T being able to deal with it either.
Yeah, that's
There is that. So.
even if the iPhone handled it well, it would be extremely difficult on AT&T.
So I don't know whether we have Kevin ready to go yet or not.
Yeah.
Do we have him
We
up
do?
there? We do have him? Oh, great.
Oh, that's cool. All right. Well,
Hey, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen,
and
Kevin
gen-
Marks.
Kevin Marks,
Hi there.
our guest of the week.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Can you actually see us, or you just? I think you can
I
just hear
can
us.
just about see you on the stream, so you're lagged a bit. I can now see myself, which is even weirder.
Yes, it is sort of a strange thing, isn't it? So Kevin, right now you're the VP at British Telecom, correct?
That's right. I'm VP Web Service at British Telecom, working at Ribbit in Mountain View.
Ah, very nice. And you were previously at Google for 2 years. That's where you and I actually first met, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
And you were basically the open.
I was at Google. I worked on mostly on Open Social,
Right.
and on the open web standards around social networking stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so what are you doing now at British Telecom? Describe what your position is there.
Well, the main thing I'm doing is continue to work on open web standards and helping BT, connect BT to the web community over here in San Francisco. In addition, I'm working with the group at Ribbit here who are building a web infrastructure for telephony so that anyone can build telephony apps over the web, and looking at how we can integrate that with various different platforms and things as well. So we already have a product, Ribbit Mobile, which effectively gives you back control over your telephone. You route your cell phone to Ribbit Mobile once it rings, and then it can answer the phone for you. It can route it to other devices. You can call out from it, send and receive SMSs, and so on. And if someone leaves you a voicemail, it'll transcribe it and text it back to you. And one of the things that means that we can route it to any different kind of phone and do sort of interesting things with it. So a lot of what we're thinking about is how can we make telephony web-like? How can we make telephony something that is a natural part of the web rather than this separate thing that we do in separate devices?
Got it. Okay. And now, what are you guys doing with Android? I know you guys are doing some stuff, right?
Yes. What we've got at the moment, Ribbit Mobile, the primary app we've got for Ribbit Mobile is Flash-based. It runs in the browser. But we also have both a mobile version at m.ribbit.com that works nicely on Android and at iPhone and others. And also we work with routing to SIP clients, which means that you can use a SIP client on your phone, on Android.
Oh, wow.
To make phone calls, whatever, which means that you can turn a device like the Arcos into a phone. But it also means that you can use, if you have a Droid like I do, the problem with the Droid is it works in the US, doesn't work anywhere else because it's only it's only got CDMA.
Right.
So, but it also has Wi-Fi, which means that if you install the SIP client and set it up right, if I go to England, I don't have any cell phone connectivity. I do have Wi-Fi. Then my phone can ring and I can make calls just as I did before, routing the same number. And if I don't have Wi-Fi, it'll take a message and send it to me when I do have it. So
wow.
a lot of it is bridging the point of making telephony virtual is to mean that you're not bound by the physical constraints you are with existing telephony.
Yeah.
Very cool. Not bound by carrier constraints. That's nice.
Always like
But
that.
it also helps. It helps the carriers too. If I'm paying Verizon for this thing, but I can't roam when I'm in London. They're not getting any benefit from that. So actually, it's a minus against the phone. But if I can suddenly use it on Wi-Fi when I'm in London, then this phone becomes it's a plus again. And the fact that it's got the sort of big beautiful screen, everything I like about it, is then the drawback of not working abroad is mitigated by the fact that actually it starts working again, and also I'm not paying ridiculous roaming charges for it.
Right.
I love when Kevin speaks. He's got that
I
the
know.
accent. Everything he says is like 20% smarter
sounds
just
so
because he's
Exactly.
got that accent.
Yes.
Am I talking too quickly though?
Yeah, no.
Because of that.
I have to say, I was telling Kevin, I was telling Mark earlier that I was very impressed that you'd worked at Google because I've read about those crazy interview questions they ask you, like how many golf balls fit in a school bus, and so I was like, wow, he mate it through that like a smart guy. Like before I even met you, I knew you were a genius.
Well, thanks for that. Quite sure how to respond to that one.
Well,
I've got an engineering background. I went to Google, and then I realized when I got to Google that there were thousands of people there who could write code, and very few that could actually communicate with the public about it. So I ended up switching roles into being the developer advocate for Open Social, precisely because they needed people to be able to talk to both the general public and to developers about this stuff, but still be able to translate it back to engineering. So I ended up sort of switching from being a very technical role to being a more public-facing role there.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you are, because like I said, I'm not necessarily really in on the technical side. Like it's sometimes like when I hear tech specs and everything, it's a little bit harder for me, and I'm just like, okay, I think I follow this.
Yeah.
Even though I understand computers really well, and I'm very technological in terms of like building my own PC and everything, and I love reading the news about phones and everything that's going on. But sometimes when I hear somebody with a very technical background speaking to me, it's hard to follow sometimes. But I find this very easy to follow. So you're doing a great job.
So Kevin, have you been watching the news coming out of Barcelona?
Not in great detail. No, I've seen bits of it. Which particular bits were you finding interesting?
Well, I was actually going to ask you that same question, but I guess you haven't been following it. So, no, I mean, I think there's a number of things that are kind of interesting. There's obviously all the handset news that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
There's the statistic that we were talking about this earlier in the show that there's now 60,000 Android-based handsets being pushed out there, I think, daily.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
I thought that was very interesting. I mean, the other thing that struck me was that increasingly, when you go to buy a phone, the choice is between different Android devices. I had this recently. My wife's phone was stolen from her car. We went to go and get another one, and went to the T-Mobile shop. And there's like, round the edges there are these other things, but in the middle there are 6 or 7 different kinds of Android to choose from. And I think that's really interesting.
Do you think that Android as a platform is almost fragmenting itself too much by releasing too many handsets, or do you think that actually benefits them in that they can sort of make more niche devices that appeal to a smaller a smaller section of the people, but appeal very, very highly. Like they have a greater appeal in terms of what exactly people are looking for.
I think it's a benefit. I think the value of having interoperable software is very high. And we have a bunch of different Android devices around now with different screen resolutions and different kinds of keyboards and different buttons on them, but they all run the same software. And that's really important because it means that you're not coupled. Those two are now decoupled. So you're not saying, "Oh, I had this really nice app that did this thing that I liked." But that means I've got to buy another phone of that make. You can say, "Oh, I think this other thing." And the thing before, in effect, the phones were specialized. If you think about it, the Sidekick was specialized for texting and for doing chat. Mm-hmm. The BlackBerry was specialized for doing email, and everything else was an afterthought. And the iPhone was a web browser. Certainly, the first iteration of the iPhone, it was a web browser. There were no apps. It was a web browser and a phone. And those were the sort of, depending on what kind of thing you wanted, that's what you bought. I had a Sidekick because I spent more time chatting, and the iPhone did not appeal to me because there was no keyboard on it.
Right.
Ironically, now I've got the Droid, and it's got a keyboard that I don't use because it's not very good. But that's
but we've talked about that in the show before too.
Uh-huh.
I hate the
yeah. Mark's not a fan of the keyboard either. You're not alone.
But my wife got a Motorola Click, which I don't know if you played with that one, but it has a slide-out keyboard that's actually got some travel to it and feels quite good. So it's almost as nice as the Sidekick keyboard. And it hasn't got the pixel resolution of the Droid, but it works really nicely for her and for her usage pattern, which is a mixture of email and phone calls and a bit of web browsing. So the interesting thing is that Android has sort of put an underpinning there that means that we can run all these different kinds of applications on it, and so different manufacturers can tweak the phones to appeal to different people. So there's that weird Fender phone that I don't understand that, but friends of mine who like guitars say, "No, that's really cool. I've got to have that phone." Mm-hmm. There are ones with lots of pixels, but that aren't actually phones. Like the Arcos is a sort of harbinger for that. That's saying you can do more with this, and this you can imagine extrapolating a bit further along this line and getting something that is not quite somewhere in between the iPad form factor, which seems huge to me. But is something more like the size of a paperback book, but has as many pixels as an iPad is going to have, and will run the Android stuff and will still be a good browser. So I expect we're going to see more of these devices, but the fact there's an operating system there that means we can write an app for it, and with a little bit of tweaking and debugging, run it on several of them, that becomes very powerful. The other half of that is that, of course, we can build web apps that run on these phones and have reasonable assurance that they'll run on, again, various Androids on the iPhone, on the Palm, because they're all basically got the same browser inside. They're all running on WebKit, which mm-hmm. And they're all thinking about the HTML5 features and augmenting those.
Right.
So you can target that as the core, and then do a little bit of specialization around the edges for those phones, rather than sitting there saying, "Okay, I've got 3 different Java SDKs for 3 different phones. I've got the Objective-C SDK for the iPhone. I've got to write radically different applications." Right. So that underpinning is sort of a double renaissance. One is that suddenly we've actually got web browsers that work, and all credit to the iPhone for putting the stake in the ground and making that a must-have feature for everyone else, and also for open sourcing WebKit so that everyone can actually be running pretty much the same code base. That's a massive thing. But the second piece is being able to the Android gives you is you're able to replace bits of the operating system if you need to. So on here, the dialer gets taken over on my Droid, so that if I'm somewhere where there isn't 3G but there is Wi-Fi, then the SIP agent just comes up and takes that piece over, and it doesn't look any different to me, but it's actually making a call over Wi-Fi using SIP rather than making a call over 3G using the carrier.
And that's because you've modified the operating system, is that correct?
It's not the operating system. You can patch out individual pieces of it. You can patch out the application.
Right.
And so the SIP client taps into the dialer that's built in there. But also you can download if you don't like the dialer that's coming, you can download a different one or modify that as well. So there's the ability to do deeper customization there than is really possible with most of the other phone system.
The
so
iPhone.
Right, the iPhone.
You can
Well,
say
not
it.
just or the BlackBerry, or it's
Sure.
quite hard to.
Yeah.
I'd say the only thing that's even like remotely close to the openness of Android and the customability would be probably WebOS for
Yeah.
Palm. That's
Yes.
the only thing I can think of that's even close.
But I mean, but back to this kind of balkanization question. We were talking about Dalvik Turbo a bit earlier. You know, how do you? I mean, this is a question for Kevin. How do you see, you know, that type of software being integrated? You know, is a game going to like license that and then include it as part of their executable? Is it going to be embedded in the phone?
It's like an,
you know,
like an engine.
It would be more for higher performing apps. So you know, if you had a lesser phone, it wouldn't be as good. So I'm just curious. You know, it seems like that's a great example of how something that could promote balkanization, but might not. You know, I'm just curious what your perspective is.
Well, it comes down to how your development model is set up. If you have only got one thing to target, then that's what you target. If you know there's more than one thing there, then you write code that deals with that. So that was the issue Apple's got with going from the iPhone to the iPad is they just made the screen several times bigger, but everything had targeted it for that smaller screen size. Whereas with Android, yes, we started out with a particular screen size, and then ones came out with larger screen sizes, but there was some modeling in the operating system that made that work reasonably well for the apps. And we now know that they can scale, therefore we can design them that way and say, okay, this feature may or may not be there. So it's like, if you're used to doing web development, you're used to doing this anyway. You're used to doing which you could either call graceful degradation or progressive augmentation, depending on which way around you look at it. But you say, I've built this website, I've got the basic thing working, now I'll make it better by adding features here. Or you can say, I built this website using all these features, and then if they're not there, then bits of them will fall off. But either way, you're used to the idea of there being multiple user agents out there and something available. And that's, but the fact that there's the ability to check for capabilities and say, can I do this? Can I discover if the user's, what the user's location? Can I actually get access to the microphone? Which, may or may not be possible. If you know that there's stuff may or may not be there, you can test for it and deal with it. But if all you're ever given is one device that has a fixed feature set, it's harder for you to say, for you to know that it will work in future. So I think there's value in having some diversity there, even early on, because it means that as you develop it, you expect the diversity range to increase to some extent.
Okay, so this is something that we've talked about before, or I've talked about. This is like my little soapbox thing that I get on. And basically, when I've used Android-based apps, or used my Android phone, and I use the iPhone, the difference is very striking. The Android phone feels more techy. It feels like for example, when an app is installed, a lot of warnings come up saying things like, oh, I need to access the camera, or I need to access this or that.
Right.
Like Java used to when it first came out, and it looks like something is going wrong to the consumer, not to us,
right,
not to our eyes, but to the consumer. And so one of the things I worry about with Android is obviously more powerful. It's obviously better that it's open, but it's not as well produced. It's not as slick. It's not as easy to understand for the consumer.
It's not as like soldier on the ground, consumer friendly, like right out of the box. You've got to have a little bit of technology know-how to really understand it. Yeah,
it feels like. So I guess my question for Kevin is, how do you think? First of all, do you agree with me? And second of all, if you do, what do you think needs to happen in order to fix this?
I think there is a little bit more to learn to some extent. I think a lot of the complaints there from people who have been taught how to use the iPhone by using an iPhone, and then try and use the Android and go, oh, this doesn't work the same way. You can find out that you need to drag down the top bar to find notifications, but if you don't know to do that, then you're going to be confused by it. Because the iPhone, the notifications just pop up in your face, and you only ever get one, and that's actually much more annoying and much less useful.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a much worse affordance. But people, if you've been trained to think that's the only way it will work, then that's how you expect to do it. I've seen similar things with the dialer, where people get grumpy because the dialer shows recent calls rather than showing numbers for you to type on, which is them harking back to the idea that that typing numbers is how you make phone calls rather than going recent calls. And it depends a lot on the feel that you have about it, and there's always a little bit of how do I use this device and how straightforwardly can I get into this. And I think the thing that we're seeing is that if you look at the amount of web traffic driven by Android, the amount of web traffic driven by iPhone, you're seeing, the same or more web traffic per device figures from both. So it's fairly clear that people are working out that they can use this to browse the web, they can use this to do other things. So I'm not sure that maybe there's a little bit of segmentation between I just like to look at things and not type, and I want to have a bit more control over the phone between the two. And it'd be interesting to have a look at that across different models. It would be fascinating to look at different Android models and see which ones have more apps installed, post more updates, that kind of thing.
Right.
Are the Droid users typing more than the what do you call it, the touch, what's it called? I forget the name of all the models. Yeah, the Nexus, the little skinny one, the one that's the mass market one that everyone has.
Talking about the Droid?
Is it called, not the Droid, the other
Hero
one.
for
Sprint?
Must be the Hero.
I'm forgetting the names of them all now. But the other thing is that it doesn't take that long to get your head around the notification system. It doesn't take long to work out how to go back to the main menu and click on things. The click is fairly different. They've skinned that quite a lot, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on when you buy a click, because you've got the notification apps that sit on the desktop and do stuff at you that are pre-installed that you have to go and get rid of if you don't want to do that to you. But so it was, you're getting slightly more of that. This phone has been doing weird stuff to me because the carrier wants it to. And I think it could be. There's scope for them to do more in terms of peer features, of being able to say, well, what apps are my friends using? That kind of idea. There's definitely scope for that. The iPhone, you sort of wave apps at each other and say, have you seen this? Have you seen that? There's a bit of that going with Android, but not quite as much somehow. That's my sense of that.
Okay.
I think you're right in saying it would be very interesting to do almost like an Android census and find out what demographics of people kind of gravitate towards certain phones, what they're using them for, how they're using them. Like I think that information would actually be really, really, really fascinating to see. I think that would be very interesting. And Google, you're welcome for that idea.
Yeah, it's too bad Kevin doesn't work there anymore. But
I know. That's it.
I go and poke somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. He knows all the right people, though. So Kevin, a little side note. So you're doing several podcasts of your own right now, and I believe you have something called Tumbling that you're interested in. Tell us about that.
So tumbling. The idea of tumbling is that when you've got an online community, some of them work and some of them don't. And there was this sort of frustrating thing of trying to work out why. And looking into it, I found that the ones that worked had somebody who was making them work. And we don't have a good word for that role. The person who actually makes the conversations happen, squashes the trolls, encourages the newbies, makes it all fit together, and often vanishes into the background. And I got the word Tumblr from Teresa Nielsen Hayden, who is a book publisher and also has her own blog with the most amazing commentary community, Making Light, and took on this job for Boing Boing when they reopened their comments section. And it's a Yiddish word, and it was the word for the entertainers at the resorts in the Catskill Mountains that the Jewish community would go to in the summer, and they would all sit in the corners and not talk to each other. So the Tumblr had to be there to bring them together, and that. We don't actually have a word for this in English, but I think it's a really important role online. It's something that you have to find someone to do this. And so talking about the name, giving it a name, discussing the role is my way of encouraging people to think about this as they start doing social stuff online, as they start building online communities. So we've got a show, tumblevision.tv, that's on the Twit network with myself, Heather Gold, and Deb Schultz, and a guest every week where we talk about this idea and try and explore the dimensions of it. The key for me is that I think this is a really, really important role, and not having a name for it makes it really hard to talk about. So that's where the Tumblr came from.
Got it. Okay. And so we can see this at what time now? When you do your broadcast again?
It's 7 p.m. Pacific on Thursdays on twit.tv.
Got it. Okay. Great. Leo Laporte's Network.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, always a pleasure to listen to you, and very much appreciate you coming on the show. So thank you.
Thank you very
Great.
much.
Great to see you all. Cheers.
See you.
Bye.
Okay.
Let's.
I guess it's news time.
I was gonna say let's bring our fantastic Android App Show co-hosts.
Yeah, it'll take them a minute to get to basically bring them back on.
Let's do the news.
Jason's dogs are trying to get into the studio, so we're momentarily distracted. Anyway.
They're the coolest looking dogs.
They are pretty cool. Yeah. So yes, what we're basically getting our co-hosts back. So I'll basically just start reading the first story. Whenever they show up, they show up. So first story, and this is all stuff coming out of Barcelona. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about.
Lots.
Interesting story. Sony Ericsson turned the opportunity to build Google's Nexus 1 down. This is the rumor. So
That's something you don't say.
What's that?
You don't say that publicly. You're not saying.
Yeah, why would you ever admit that?
God,
like,
I don't
oh
know.
yeah, we turned that down. Like that's.
Why would they? All right, first of all, why would you do that? That just seems insane.
Well, first, why would you turn it down, and then after its success, why would you admit that you turned it down? Like, it just seems. That seems like such an odd thing for a corporation to do.
My question was going to be, was this a mistake? And I think it's really obvious that it was.
Yeah.
But what do you so then the question is, what the hell were they thinking?
Maybe it was tied to the the Nexus. There's the news that they might not be releasing the Nexus in China. I mean, maybe they're trying to get on that bandwagon. I don't know.
I'm thinking maybe it's a mea culpa, as in like, yeah, we messed up. Like, please give us another chance. Like,
Really, you think they're plugging for another chance?
I don't know. Like when people apologize for stuff like that, it's like a Tiger Woods thing. Where it's like, I'm really sorry, and I feel so terrible. I messed up. I'm admitting my mess up, and I'm admitting it's a terrible idea and all this stuff. But I'm gonna make amends for it. I don't know. What do you guys think, Dave, Lane?
I think it's partly that there was kind of a hit at HTC because HTC started off as a company that would just make phones for other carriers, and that was their whole business. And then Sony said, "Oh, we're too good for that. We make our own stuff. We make
they're
a
really
PlayStation 3."
They're really big on branding, I think,
Yeah.
and this is kind of conflicted with that.
Well, that could be that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Sony didn't want to basically just be a job shop.
Yeah.
So
You guys and your logic.
they're proud of it now. So it sounds like they're proud of it now. They don't think it's a mistake.
Yeah, like it's they're just like.
You guys think they think it's a mistake, or no?
Well, the CEO doesn't think it's a mistake, but I would likely bet that there's other people at the company that would disagree with him.
I think you're right.
Okay. All right. Well, enough of that story.
Yeah.
Okay. So second story, AT&T goes Google. Will finally sell the first Android device. So basically, the story here is that AT&T is going to start selling the Motorola Backflip and the Dell Mini 3 exclusively later this year. So the Backflip will be the first Android device that is sold by AT&T. So AT&T is cheating on Apple. What's going on here?
Switching costs a lot lower too.
Yeah,
you don't have to break
exactly.
your plan.
To
That's
break
right.
your AT&T card. Honestly, I think that they should have just named it the Motorola Backhand because that's what it feels like. But like it's just like, oh man, like it's just AT&T's just like, well, I think we're gonna. It's like betting on every horse in the race now. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard that Palm's getting their WebOS on AT&T. They're gonna have some version of the Pre on AT&T later this year, and I think AT&T's finally like, you know what? I think it's time to kind of hedge our bets and, just put it on everybody and see how this rides out. Like I think the one-trick pony of being the iPhone network has sort of lost its luster for them.
But why?
Yeah, and
What do you guys
a
think?
lot of people think that this is because if AT&T gets rid of the iPhone, or if they don't bid high enough on the contract for the iPhone and it goes to Verizon,
They have nothing.
that's going to hit AT&T really hard because I don't know anybody who likes the AT&T coverage on the iPhone.
Yeah,
And they
never
need
heard
something.
It's the
anybody.
They need
biggest
a
negative
second.
on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I mean, I'm sure AT&T looked at that 60,000 handhelds a
Yeah.
day and was like, maybe we should get in on that. So, and I think you guys are absolutely right. I think that if Apple goes to Verizon, if Apple, if AT&T loses their contract with the iPhone, their exclusive contract with the iPhone, it's not going to be pretty for AT&T. So I think they're kind of putting their money on everybody now. Like they're just kind of spreading their bets around and basically saying, well, now we kind of gotta. Now that Android is really just taken off, we have to get into this. Otherwise, it would be a foolish business decision not to.
So you think Android is actually pushing them to do this?
I think the overwhelming popularity of Android and the sheer amount of, I mean, we heard this week, the sheer amount of handsets that they're, that they're selling every day is, I mean, it would just be, I think it would be an impractical business decision to not get into the Android business.
So does Jobs leave them at the altar then and say, oh, okay, you're going to cheat on me, I'm going to cheat on you?
I don't know.
Start offering it through Verizon and who knows what else.
Apple's tough because it's like they could say, you know what, that's fine. Like we'll just, we'll keep on trucking and do our thing. But then like there's this other like dark side of Apple where it's just like, oh yeah, well we'll show you. It's so I don't know what side of Apple we'll end up seeing. And if either of you guys, Dave or Lana, if you have any ideas on that, feel free to let us know what you think's going to happen with Apple.
Well, I don't think that AT&T would have made this jump to expanding out so quickly, because really what they're coming out with two Android phones. Yeah. I think that there probably would have been some telegraphing back from Apple saying, that we are looking at other carriers coming up here, because they've had a really close relationship. I don't think it's been so adversarial, and it would really benefit AT&T and Apple if they kind of kept the relationship on a positive note. So for me, at least, I think that Apple's smart decision would be to say, yes, later on, we'll probably keep you on as a carrier, but we're going to expand out. You should really start expanding out too.
Yeah, it's like we should see other people.
Oh,
yes.
That's so sad.
We need to open
AT&T and Apple are breaking up.
I know. It's like it's
good.
It's kind of the nice blow off.
It wasn't a marriage that was working anyway.
Yeah,
so what, 3-year itch, 2-year itch.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, definitely about that time.
All right, so here's an interesting article, sort of highlights some things we were talking about earlier. Too much Android. Google, so there have been a couple articles this week. I chose one. Basically, the author was saying that Google has an interesting problem in that their innovation is too fast. And by that, he basically was saying, all right, so we saw not one, but 2 new Android devices announced just by HTC alone. So HTC basically is outdoing themselves.
Yeah, within 16 weeks of the Droid launching, and I mean,
right. And
I don't understand.
And so now, I mean, basically the Desire is basically a better version of the Nexus One, right? And so
the Legend is a huge upgrade on the Hero, and people are pissed.
It's getting plain silly now. And, and to the point where and Google's upstaging their own partners. So basically, you have companies upstaging themselves. Right. You have Google upstaging the companies that they're partnering with. Yeah. And it's just everyone just is going too fast, and now the consumers are starting to get whiplash. Right. And they're starting to get pissed.
Yeah, right? Yeah, because people are people buy. A lot of people who buy those really high-end, like the Droid, for example. A lot of people bought that phone because they wanted to be the first. When you buy a high-end smartphone like that, you want to be one of the first people to have it in your hand. You want to show it off to all your friends. Look at the new toy I bought. And I love the quote in this article where the author says he's wondering if Google is eating its own children. Right. And I can see where someone would feel that way, but I think on that same note, if you look at something like the Japanese market, as we were talking about earlier, people tend to buy cell phones not necessarily as items they keep for a long period of time. They keep them as they have them as fashion statements, and there's all different colors, and they may not have as many features, or they may not have, because a lot of the Japanese market runs by text, like everything's text-based. Right. And they've had a lot of trouble launching the iPhone in Japan. Like it's starting to finally people are starting to come around to it, but it took a while because people, were just like, well, why would I upgrade to this when I have, 9 other devices that do the same thing? And so here we don't really have that sort of overabundance of technology available in our hands, and so but I think now it's starting to get to a point where they're going to start releasing phones fast, furious. They want you to spend money on them. I mean, because really, with all of the price wars going on plans and things like that, I mean, like Sprint's got I think it's like unlimited everything, minutes, text, data for $99 a month. Right. And they even have the any mobile to mobile now for less than that. And I mean, you've got all these carriers, basically, and any smartphone now that comes out has to have a price point of $199 or less after 2-year contract. So I think now it's going to be no longer getting people to just buy one phone for $400 for like 2 or 3 years. They want people to now be buying phones every 6 months.
Right.
Yeah, and I wonder how much that's cultural with, I don't know about the HTC side, but Google, starting off as a software company, they can release their software daily and update it, and I'm wondering how much that translates to the
cultural?
hardware side. Yeah, that well, let's just keep.
Well,
Well, they
updating
have
it.
so much.
If you can
I
do
mean,
it in
it's such a
software,
behemoth. I mean, they can just mobilize like
Right.
that and get things done so
That's
quickly.
true, too.
So you really
It
think they're
also
trying to?
speaks to their. It also speaks to their open source roots there, because open source. I mean, a lot of open source programs have nightly builds of their software, and they're kind of reiterating every time with the phone.
So you think they're trying to turn us into a culture like the Japanese, where we're buying phones like clothes?
I think so.
Well,
I
I
think
think that-
it's more. I think it's going to be more of buying the latest and greatest. I think cell phones have finally migrated into this this level of being a fashion statement, being the hot new toy, being your gaming device. Like to some extent, I mean, you're not going to be playing PlayStation 3 games on there or anything like that anytime soon, but it's your newspaper now. It's everything. And so I think now people are, and when when Kevin was talking about the niche markets of all these phones, like the Fender phone, like that's a statement. Like you're making a statement about who you are by the phone that you're having. So
Yeah.
if you're a Droid, like if you have a Droid, then you're this kind of person, or if you have a Pre, you're this kind of person. You're an
Yeah.
iPhone, you're this kind of person. And I definitely think that more and more we're going to start seeing almost an overabundance of phones coming out. But hey, that's better for us as consumers, because then we can be more choosy as to like what options we have.
We should register chooseyourandroidphone.com, get some tutorials going,
No, it's
get
done now.
a little
You can
a
put
little
it on the
quiz,
show.
Get
a
a phone
Facebook
selector.
quiz. Also,
Yeah,
I'm gonna make a
Facebook
Facebook.
quizzes.
What Android
So-
phone are you?
You were telling me earlier also that one of the reasons why people buy phones in Japan is because they want to put little dolls on them. Or
This is
what's
such
the deal with
it's
that?
such a strange thing. A
Tchotchkes.
friend of mine is Japanese, and he was saying that like one of the things that a lot of Japanese people like is having the cell phone charm like loop on
Yeah.
there, and which is
like a lucky rabbit's foot kind of
yeah,
thing,
it's
like
like
hanging off
those
the
little
phone?
you get them. I mean, and he brought me some from Japan that were Nightmare Before Christmas, and he was just like, yeah, like the iPhone doesn't have that, and so a
'Cause
lot
you
of people
can't hook it on anywhere.
yeah,
There's
and
nowhere
it's
to
like
put
if
it.
you ever know people who have like giant keychains like filled with stuff, like
Yeah.
this is the same. You see this like a little bit in Japan where they have like tons of little stuffed animals and like tchotchkes and everything like
And so when
attached
you,
to
when you
their
answer your
zippers.
phone, you
and
get like
it's-
a bunny
like,
bouncing
it's-
on your head, or like,
well, and again, most of it's by text. They don't necessarily.
oh, that's true. So they don't actually.
It's mostly
right.
text based, so,
So
it's
it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's okay, and so it's more
got
of a it's a personal statement. Like your cell phone is a personal statement as opposed to just a thing you use to talk on.
David Lane.
Well, and Japan's cell phone culture is really quite a bit different from ours or Europe's cell phone culture, where as even Europe texts more than we do, Japan, as you said, texts even more than Europe and the United States. But the even bigger point is that they are more a hardware-centric market. Like before, well, with the iPhone never really has taken off there. And as she said, it doesn't support, putting a sort of like wrist strap on or something like that. But the bigger point is it doesn't have these hardware things that people are looking for, like video conferencing.
Yeah.
And apps are a really big deal here in the United States, but we've never really had that infrastructure that pushed us toward that hardware side yet. I mean, we're starting to get that.
Yeah, you look at a lot of the Sony Ericsson phones that are out there, and almost all of them have the little space there for those little tchotchkes, those little things. So, yeah, it's funny. I never knew what to do with that though.
It's this right here.
Oh,
These
you have
things.
tchotchkes on your
I
phone?
have
Oh, look
I
at
have them
that.
on my keychain because my phone doesn't have a have
right.
a tchotchke holder, so I have my little Nightmare Before Christmas beads.
Cool.
So, but yeah, it's just it's like it's such a weird small thing, but people they put a lot of
It's
stock
all
into
about the
it.
cases in the U.S.
Yeah.
Cases for your phone.
Yeah, your hip holster.
Yeah, exactly. Like super hip holsters. If that's like an oxymoron, I don't even know what I'm saying.
They're like the new fanny packs, which that should tell you where they're headed,
Yeah, exactly.
or hopefully.
So we were talking about iPhones not having this charm thing. Well, I think the next piece of news is
Yeah, this will be interesting.
Very.
So once again, AT&T slaps Jobs in the head.
yeah.
Basically, AT&T announces a rival to the Apple App Store.
Ugh.
Yeah. So it's actually not just AT&T. It's 12 of the world's biggest phone networks, including AT&T, announce a rival technology tomorrow to Apple's App Store. The combined audience for apps are right now 2 billion customers. Samsung, LG, Sony Ericsson, Orange and Telefonica are all part of the alliance. Let's see, what else do we know about this?
Well, geez, I think just about every one of those statements should be followed by "in theory."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the amount of customers that they have in theory, because you're going to have to make sure that this stuff interoperates. I mean, people want to rip on Android fragmentation. You don't even have the same software. You're talking about building Java virtual engines on top of all these different disparate operating systems that carriers built for their special phones, and have apps run on that. You know, and then agreements between who gets the money off the apps and everything. I mean,
unless
that's
it's just a clearinghouse for applications where like they have different, like you log in through your phone and then they just recognize your phone and only give you those kind of apps.
Those that are available. That would be. That seems like it would make the most sense.
Yeah.
But on the development side, though, I mean, who's going to want to develop for a platform like that?
Well, it wouldn't be about developing for that platform. It would just say, yeah, you can put my app in that store too.
But I mean, it would have to be. I mean, you'd have to develop your application for whatever the API is that they're going to be releasing it on.
Right.
So I mean, either they would have to have this same, you know, virtual engine that runs on top of all these different phones, or they have to find some way to magically, you know, recompile your code for it. But even Android doesn't do that. You have to, you know, put in the different stuff for screen sizes. I just think it's going to be a whole nother layer of headache.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
I think it's much needed because, I mean, the App Store is ridiculous. Even yesterday or today, was it? They started banning applications because of adult-themed content.
Yeah.
Which is
like,
what in the App Store? Yeah. Well, that's always been true though. That's not just a recent development.
No,
but now it's not. It
term.
used before used to be like pornographic, but now it's like just
bikinis.
The whisper of adult content. They're like, whoa, no.
Yeah.
Gotta
They
get rid of
actually
that.
changed their agreements, and they've been removing developers from the store
Oh wow. I haven't even, when did this happen?
today.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
well, I was gonna say in the last like 2 days or so.
Got it. No wonder
Yeah.
I missed it. All right.
Yeah.
Breaking
But,
news.
But I think in terms of apps, like the next story, I think this for me like has a lot more potential in terms of succeeding.
Yeah. Okay.
And hugely.
So addressing, that's why I put this one next. 'Cause
Yeah.
It addresses the problem with the previous one, theoretically. So the bane of all mobile app developers is, of course, rewriting the same app over and over again for multiple platforms.
Everything.
So so you write for your iPhone, you write a different one for Android, a different one for BlackBerry, different for Palm Pre, Nokia, Windows Mobile.
But someone has a
God,
solution.
someone kill me. So,
Somebody.
but yes,
Who
it's
is
someone.
that?
There's a
Yeah.
white knight
Some
on the horizon.
enterprising company.
There is one hope, and that hope is Adobe.
Yeah,
And-
Flash and Air.
Yes. Well, there may be more than just one. But
Adobe
this is-
Air.
no, you guys aren't liking this one. Huh?
He's
Talk
not.
to us about that.
He's got a Mac here that chugs on, you know, Flash. It's
Yeah.
like something horrible.
Yeah,
So
it's-
he hates Adobe like anything.
Yeah.
Aw.
But would you agree that they're probably the closest to having a write once, run anywhere platform?
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
Other than
Okay.
HTML5.
And
Yeah.
I mean, and Flash might address a lot of the issues with screen size, you know, because it's if you build your apps the right way, they just kind of auto scale and fit.
Right.
They have a
Right.
lot of the authoring problems solved for multiple formats and handsets, so that's nice.
I think it'll be really interesting to see the development of this as we all start getting Flash in browser.
Yeah, or Air actually. So,
So and well, yeah,
Technically Air.
so
Right. And then you have your Air app store.
I was gonna say, and then
Right.
you've got like the separate app store,
Yeah.
and but then you have to develop different apps for each platform again, like to say, hey, this is our store for all these
Yeah,
different
geez,
phones.
if they wanted to surround around one sort of, you know, standard, maybe these mobile operators that we were talking about in the last story should have been looking at Air, you know, because and let Adobe worry about making it work on the platform, and then
Right.
Yeah.
you know, developers can just code for that.
Right,
And Adobe has
exactly.
always been really good about bringing things in and out because a lot of production houses, they build at least their original designs for the iPhone in some kind of Photoshop or Illustrator, and then they bring it into whatever to code it up for the iPhone or any other kind of mobile thing. So if you could just do that right in and keep it through the Adobe workflow to the end, then that would be great for people. It's just you gotta keep the Adobe Air light and not
Yeah.
CPU intensive. Just in reaction to something like this, Steve Jobs said that if they were to support Adobe Air on the iPad, it would have an hour and a half of battery life instead of 10 hours.
do you
So
believe
Well,
Well,
that?
that's because it's made by
Yeah.
Apple.
I know.
What do you expect?
Do you believe that or not?
Yeah.
I don't
I
know
do.
about that. You do.
Well, supposedly
would-
is my word
yeah.
of the day, I think now.
I would
because I
believe that it
always
would cut it in
monitor-
half, but not.
Yeah. I always monitor my system resources when I'm running any kind of programs, because especially for streaming video and stuff like this. And whenever some kind of Adobe thing loads up, it just hits it. And yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I guess we have to think like the Cortex processors that are coming out, the Snapdragon processor. There's another one too that's supposed to be like a sub $100 making phone processor. It's so cheap. These have all, like, whenever I read about them, they say that they've been working with Adobe,
yeah,
you
that's
know,
really,
to make the extensions in the processor.
yeah,
to,
that's a big deal. That's going to help a lot.
and
That's a
Apple
huge
doesn't
deal.
have that
It's
in
good
their
that they have
A4.
access.
I can bet that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good they have access to that.
It is feeling to me like Flash and Air are going to be very.
I think that's going to be huge. I definitely think that's going to be huge because
Yeah.
the thing is, you know, there are a lot of apps on. I have an iTouch, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of apps on there that I would love. Like, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but I love Pocket God, and I would love to have
every update I love just
Pocket.
to see
I know
what they have.
they're so good,
yeah.
and I just, you know, I'm like, why don't I have that on my phone? Like, please come port, like port it. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, like the original Mass Effect, only on Xbox, and I didn't get to have it on PlayStation. Very sad.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the era where we can build the back end once. We don't have to build it multiple times, and I mean, maybe it's a decade away, but it's going to be a while before the front end is write once, run anywhere.
Yeah, I'll definitely.
Okay. All right, next story. Microsoft unveils Windows 7 phone operating system. So basically the latest version of Windows, the Phone 7 series, was unveiled at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. Also, Microsoft brings together Xbox Live games and the Zune music and video experience to the mobile phone. Hey.
It's a Zune phone.
Yeah, it's a Zune phone, basically. So, question, does this mean anything? Does this put Microsoft back on the map?
You know, for me, I think that the Xbox Live thing is going to go over huge with people. That is going to be, I mean, the Zune aside, I mean, nobody.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I won't even get into that, but I definitely think the Xbox Live, the integration with Xbox Live, if it's good, people are going to flip.
Now, why? Now, you're a big gamer, right? So,
I am.
And are you big? You have an Xbox?
I wish I did.
Okay, so you
That's
don't.
the only one I don't have.
But if you did, so why do you think? Why is this a big deal for gamers?
You know, because the social aspect of gaming is now, like, for example, Call of Duty 2, Modern Warfare. Okay,
that's the big one right now.
So, or Mass Effect is also huge right now. But let's go with Call of Duty because there's so many multiplayer aspects of that game. So let's say you're on Xbox Live, you are on your phone, and someone's like, hey, you know, people can contact you without having to know your cell phone number. They just have to know your gamer tag. Like, you don't have to give out any personal information.
It connects your phone to the Xbox.
To the Xbox Live network.
And on the social grid, basically.
Yeah.
I see.
Which
So
is
basically, my
amazing.
avatar, my in-world identity is now tied to my
your cell phone.
handset.
So on a superficial level, you'd have like my gamer cards or
Right.
leaderboards or achievements.
So the
Your
elf from the
achievement
tavern
boards,
can
all
now
that
call
stuff.
me.
And then, like a deeper integration would be like my guild's online. We have a
Yep.
little
Got it.
online
Guilds
set
online,
up the raid.
raids coming,
now I understand.
right, exactly.
I was trying to figure out why this was a big deal. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. I mean, if people are saying, hey, like, we're going to have a big, you know, Modern Warfare night or whatever tonight at 5 or, you know, however you want to do that. I mean, I think, the gamer tag thing, I really think people are going to love that. If they do it well, and based on what I've seen for Windows 7, for Windows Phone 7, I think it's going to go very well.
Yeah, and the trick is going to be to tie everything together, right? Like if I'm talking about the web, my blog, when I blog, goes to my Twitter, which goes to my Buzz, and nothing's repeated, nothing's duplicated. It's just a nice little thing.
It's
so
a
as
nice
long as
flow.
as long as that experience is tightly integrated,
And I have to say,
should be nice.
From what I've seen so far, I mean, just the brief stuff that I've seen on Windows Phone 7, it's not bad. I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting to be like, oh, that's disappointing, but I was just like Windows 7. I was pleasantly surprised.
And I think it's really great that they took I mean, a lot of people like to diss the Zune, but with the Zune HD and that new user interface, it is amazing. It's great.
Right, and
if they can
I was going to say the coolest feature is when you're playing Xbox, you can pick up the phone and order a pizza. That is like, sorry, sometimes my humor is a little dry.
But then again, like with that Zune stuff, it's kind of similar to what the Xbox Live integration will be. With Zune, they have Zune Pass, and like like they were mentioning on This Week in Startups earlier, you can stream music, or you can have a music subscription. It's $14.99 a month, but that's great for music people. And if you have this on a phone and just download any song you ever wanted on your phone with the integration of your social network attached to that, that is a big deal.
Yeah, or
awesome.
if your Xbox is on at home, you could connect maybe through your mobile device to your library of videos or music.
Yeah.
It could really get crazy.
I'm very curious to see how they. I'm very curious to see how they integrate the Windows Phone 7 Xbox Live with your, using it as a remote, for example, for your media center.
Yeah.
They're very good at getting all the media center stuff together, and I'm very curious to see how that works. And I do think that that's going to be a big thing if you can access your media center from.
Yeah, but by the way, my app pick of the week is the Fios. I have Fios at home. I'm not trying to brag, but it's the the Android app for Fios. Just control your cable box.
Yeah,
Very cool.
which is fantastic. So, but I definitely think that if they can integrate Xbox Live the right way, which
That's
they
all
did
it is.
Xbox Live very well, so I have confidence in that. So but I think that's going to be.
Or if I could then get my
Netflix.
Netflix off of my Xbox to my phone.
If you can stream your
that-
Netflix, because they
ooh,
have the
crazy.
instant
That would be
streaming.
awesome.
Right, they have the instant streaming
Yeah.
for Xbox Live and everything. So if you can, if you're able to instant stream
That's a
Netflix
very
to your
good point.
phone, that's huge, huge, huge.
Okay,
Put
so-
the webcam on the Xbox
Well,
and watch your dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
knows?
So I guess
Like, turn on anything.
I guess we're thinking that Microsoft did a good move here, and this is
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that one of the big things too, you guys are kind of hinting all around it, is the media integration. I mean, there's no other smartphone out there that has a media integration stack like what the iPhone does.
yeah.
Right.
And if
True
Microsoft
media
can really
center.
exactly, if Microsoft can duplicate that, but with an Xbox instead of using a Mac or PC, then I think that they're really onto something. I mean, Android doesn't have that sort of a media stack, where you can easily put podcasts, video podcasts, sync it from another main device.
Or books.
That isn't going to eat
Yeah.
battery downloading it.
Yeah.
Yeah, books. So, I think that if they push into that, and you're talking about the Xbox Live integration, if they really focus on the media portion of that, they could really have a hit here.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Good job, Microsoft. Okay. So next story. Books are near and dear to my heart,
They are.
especially the whole ebook thing and Kindles
Yeah.
and all that. Okay. So next story: ebook app for Android announced. So finally, we're going to have
Awesome.
a decent ebook reader. Let's see. Packet Video announced that it's working with Milmo to launch a new ebook application for Android handsets. It's slated to arrive in Japan spring of this year. You will use SDC DRM, so basically to enable users to purchase, manage, and browse ebooks on their Android handsets. So the store, unfortunately, it's only in Japan, from what I can tell here. But fortunately, there is now a way. There basically is a book store and a book reader, much akin to the Kindle, sort of setup, or even what you're seeing in the iTunes App Store.
Any idea on how it compares to? Because when the iPad came out, the price point was
Yeah.
such that it kind of people are saying it's going to kill the Kindle. Is there any?
Don't know, but I'm
I don't
sure
know if it's that because it's not
Right.
it's not that big, right? Physically.
I was going to say like all 7 people in Japan who have an Android device. Like that's
Right. Well, I think this is big news, not really for the handsets,
but for just
Right.
Android.
but for the tablets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The Android tablets.
That's
oh,
great.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes,
because my
that's
contention
where
is
we're at.
Yeah.
my contention is that the tablets, the purpose of tablets in life is to be an ebook reader,
Yeah.
and that's really where their killer app is.
Save the print industry.
But it's and I think and Apple's figured that out with the iPad, and they have the iBook. They're basically saying, hey, it's a Kindle, it's just a better Kindle.
Yeah.
And
It's a great way to
the
market
Android tablets look cool, but they don't really have that media stack like Dave and Lane were saying.
Yeah.
Specifically for books, which I believe is a killer app for the tablets. So
Yeah.
I think for the Android tablets to really take off, they need something like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And hopefully, the book. It'll be interesting to see how many and how quickly they can populate the book player library.
Yeah.
So I think that's
I
going to
don't
be
think they're going to have a problem with that. Anytime a new platform comes out,
People just jump all over
People
it.
jump all over it, and even if the publishers don't, there's a lot of small publishers and indie
Self-publishing,
publishers
yeah.
that have no problem whatsoever. Even
Yeah.
on the
If
Kindle.
they're open enough,
Yeah.
if they're not locking down their who can
Well, Android's
sign
open,
on.
so yeah.
Well, I'm
It's
talking
all-
about the bookstore itself.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I think that's a great idea. Dave, Lane, do you guys think? What do you guys think about this? Do you think this is going to be a big thing in terms of the the tablet support for, you know, books, ebooks, and readers.
Yeah, it's definitely needed.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's where it's pushing into. You know, we talked about the specialization of Android on last week. You know, with remotes and microwaves and stuff. And Texas Instruments is coming out with dual display support now for Android, where you could have a dual display phone, almost like a clamshell, you know, reader.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's definitely where we're headed with it.
Okay. Last story. We're running over a little bit here. So today, Dutch mobile company Layar, Layar, basically announced that they're going to allow developers of Layars to monetize their creation on the platform. So basically, there's going to be a Layar store where you can go and you know,
And layers
sell.
are
Oh yes, I have
for the
really explained that.
unenlightened.
Yeah, so Layars are
Augmented
I
reality.
have to say,
Augmented
I
reality.
was completely uninformed when I came in today, so I was trained on the
Yeah.
Layar system. It's
So-
freaking awesome.
So with your handset, basically, if you're aware that there's a camera here, right? So if I turn on the camera, which I'm not right now, but if I did have it on, and I push it around there, I can see, you know, basically what's going through the camera. What Layar does is it puts a layer of information or graphics on top of the video and integrates it into the video. So it's sort of like, you know, when you see Terminator and he's like analyzing the landscape and there's like
Heads-up
information.
display.
Yeah, it's like a heads-up display. So you can do various things like one of the neater apps is you can find out where In-N-Out burgers are. So if there's one over there, I'll see that it's almost like a tricorder for In-N-Out burgers. And you'll see like a burger floating in the air.
Actually,
I'll show you like how far away it is.
It's not Android, but TED 10 has a very awesome Bing demo using Bing Maps, and just the way they zoom in from the high level to the low level and transition into video shots and an augmented. You can actually go into buildings now.
Oh wow!
With like portable kind of, you know, the rig they scan the streets with. It's for people. So that if anyone's just wanting to see more, go to Bing and just zoom in and out of things, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So basically, what Layar's done now is they said, or Layar,
Yeah.
they said you can now sell your Layar-based applications inside of the application itself. So this is going to open up you know, there's a store within a store now.
I've even seen some demos where you're filming the camera, where you can actually take that and map it into the your GPS coordinates. So if I zoom in, I'm outside on the street.
Yeah.
Off Google Maps, come in off Street View, come into the office, I could see where you're sitting and the video that you're looking at.
Oh wow.
That's the Bing demo. It's crazy.
That is
pretty
crazy.
wild.
Yeah, and
Was that
so
the thing
these
at
are the
TED the
devices
other
that
week?
will enable them. TED 10, it's recent.
Yeah.
I'll send it.
And what's interesting about Layar, though, is it's all built on XML code, so
Yeah.
anyone can easily make one of these Layar layers.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen that building that they made? They're remodeling a art museum in Europe. What was I can't remember the country you said that it's made in. It's in Holland, I think, right?
It was well, they're Dutch. Layar is Dutch, so.
Okay. And you stand there on the street and you hold up your phone and you can see what the building is going to look like.
That's
You
so
see the
cool.
construction site with your eyes, but right through the camera.
Oh my
it
God,
has
that's
everything.
wild.
Yeah, Dave's got his he's got an iPhone, but he's got
Yep,
it.
that's
It's up.
Layar right there.
Oh, cool.
And-
Is that which one is that? What are you showing us right now? Is that the Twitter one or?
Yeah, this is the Twitter one. There's not very many tweets around, but
You guys are in Jackson, Michigan. There's nobody. I guess your Twitter
People
friends aren't.
use Twitter here. Come on.
yeah,
No, I wasn't saying that. I was just saying your Twitter friends aren't necessarily there. Anyway, whatever.
yeah.
So what you're showing, I've actually played around with this myself. It's really cool. One of the cooler
Yeah.
Layar apps is that you basically can fuse your Twitter login with Layar. So basically, you can see tweets
Right.
that are in your follow list,
That
and you can
is
see
so
if
cool.
somebody in that direction just tweets in the last couple of minutes,
Right.
you'll see it appear on your Layar, and it'll show who it is and what the tweet is.
I love that.
So yeah, it's pretty wild.
Although I have to say, I do have some concern about like there's always that fine line between like something that's really cool and something that totally infringes on your privacy as a human being. Like I'm just like, I don't know if I want people to be able to find me on this Layar, and that would make me really nervous to some extent.
You forget to turn it off.
Right, like you forget that, and like maybe you have a stalker, or like it's just it's kind of scary in a way. But I mean, it's amazing the technology that's coming out of. I mean, just to be able to. I mean, the In-N-Out thing was my favorite. You know, like you're
the
like go
floating
like this,
hamburger.
and you're just like, hey, there's a floating hamburger. There's an In-N-Out in that direction. Like
yeah.
I love that.
So it's a little bit like Google goggles.
It is a little bit
Someone
like
was
that,
saying
yeah.
in
Yeah,
the
someone
the
else who
chat.
does LAR use goggles.
Yeah.
It is.
It'll be very
a lot-
interesting to see if Google Goggles has an app for translation at some point, like Dave and Lane were mentioning.
Yeah.
Oh, especially if you're a tourist.
you mean LAR.
Wouldn't that be
Okay.
awesome?
LAR, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if they
Yeah.
they develop goggles for something for LAR, if you're a tourist, you go.
Got it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a tourist app where you go to Prague and you look around. I'm obsessed with Prague today. I don't know what's
Yeah.
wrong with me.
And a lot of programs have that augmented reality thing, like Yelp, at least on the iPhone. They have it, and there's a couple like location-based programs that have it. And now that all these phones are starting to come out with the little digital compass inside them, it allows them to use that. And it is definitely, I don't know how useful it's. I mean, it's cool. It's really
Yeah.
cool, but a map is also useful too.
Yeah, that's sort of my feeling about the whole layer thing, is that the whole augmented reality thing, is that it seems gimmicky to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's
so
cool.
one thing, like the other guy was saying there, it's really cool if you're looking at buildings and adding some kind of stuff to it. Like I set up one around here that is like an art tour around town. So there's different public pieces of art, and you can go and open up layer and look for all those, and it gives you information about the artist and all that kind of stuff.
My kind of, if I had a ton of money and all the time in the world, my kind of fantasy application is where you could kind of sit on a city corner and slide like time and look at the city change over 200 or 300 years, right? Take all the archival
Oh, very
footage,
cool.
That's
take
cool.
current footage, and just really get a feeling for
Time
how
lapse,
places
but over
evolve.
a very long period of time.
Yeah,
That's
so
very
I,
cool.
if you guys hear of anything like that, I'm just
That would be really
Very
cool.
good.
They came out with some stuff for Google Earth, I think.
Yeah.
That they don't have a lot of data in there.
Right.
But there are certain locations where you can do that. You can slide back and forth and see how areas have changed over time. But the augmented reality portion, I think, what you're talking about, that would be pretty interesting too. I think they'd have to hire a lot more cars to drive around though.
Yeah, I'd be the jerk who like developed a LAR thing that was like pop-up video, like that TV show pop video. So you like put up a movie and you just like hold your phone up and it gives you all these ridiculous like little like, like I would do a LAR thing where it's like you walk around town and you like hold it. There's like weird little bits of like random trivia about different places. And
right.
stuff.
But then I'm waiting for like a
And it makes
protest.
that
A
sound
store
too,
has
the whoop
protesters and
sound.
they have all these little. They
Yeah,
get
yeah,
overwhelmed
exactly,
with augmented pop-ups.
Exactly.
So, okay. Well, I guess that's it for this week.
I think that's it. Dave and Lane, thank you again for coming back on again this week. You guys are fantastic as always. You guys can catch Dave and Lane on the Android App Show Sunday at 3. Is it 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock is when we start, and we start with the iPhone, the iPad show. Then we do the app show. Then we do the Android app show and the Android tech show. So.
And those are Eastern time.
Eastern
Sorry.
time. So
Yeah.
noon on the
Noon.
West Coast, Eastern time, 3 o'clock.
Yep.
And you can catch them on Twitter, and you guys have two different Twitter call signs. I'll call them.
Yep.
It's my handle. Now for our personal accounts, mine's 14N3.
Yep. And I'm Audio Collective, and those are just our personal ones. But then we have ones for the show too.
Yeah, Android App Show and Android Tech Show.
Mm-hmm.
Android App Show and Android Tech Show. You can catch us at TWI Android on Twitter.
Yep.
You can find us online at twiandroid.com. And you can find Mark on Twitter,
Yes, at Mark Jeffrey.
Mark Jeffrey, but R-E-Y.
Yes, MarkJeffrey.
And you can find me as Heartless Jez, J-E-Z. Are you on Twitter?
Yeah, freelance CTO.
Freelance
Yep.
CTO.
FreelanceCTO.com is my on-again, off-again blog.
Very nice. And thank you, John.
Oh,
John
thanks.
Shiple.
I had a fantastic time. This
Yeah.
is really cool.
Yeah,
Thanks
and-
for
yeah.
coming on.
And thanks to Kevin Marks, too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
thanks to Kevin Marks for showering us with his genius today,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
that
that
was
was really cool.
that was really enlightening.
Yeah, he's a
I
great
was-
guest. He's
Yeah,
always awesome.
really great guest. I hope to have him on again at some point soon.
We will.
He's
Absolutely.
fantastic. So, but thank you very much, everyone out there, for watching. This has been This Week in Android. I'm Ashley Esqueda. This has been Mark Jeffrey, and see you next week.